large demon possessing the body of an innocent 11-year-old boy. Of course, we sent in the best exorcists, but they failed.
This is Brian with ScreeningFiles.com in review. What I'm looking at today is 2016's Incarnate, directed by Brad Peyton. And this is an interesting movie. It's not a great movie, but it is an interesting one. Though before I begin, a shout out to Eckhart, who, no matter the movie he's in, some of which have been pretty bad, he always manages to seem to bring his A game. He tries the best he can to elevate roles. It doesn't always work, but he tries really hard. He gives intense, heartfelt performances that just work. And his performance in this movie is no exception. The problem is, the movie does him no favors. I mentioned before that this is an interesting movie, and it is because it deals with things you have seen before, namely demonic possession, but it treats them through the lens of science. As in, Eckhart's character, Dr. Ember, has the ability to enter the minds, the dreams of people who are possessed, and he's able to drive out the infection, the demon, from their persons. It's an interesting treatment of this material, which is why this is not a typical possession story. Though the thing is, it's like a lot of movies you've seen before, or at least parts of them. There are some flatliners in it. There's some Exorcist. There's some Exorcist 2, believe it or not. And that's interesting. What's not so interesting is that it's almost as if the director forgot to make a horror movie. Which isn't to say it doesn't have its moments, because it does. But as a whole, nothing really comes together. It's lots of interesting approaches to subjects, not executed all that well. So it's not a particularly scary film, which is a pity, because I think it's on an interesting track that you don't see very often. And if it could have lived up to some of the scares, I think it would have been really excellent. Though, as I said, Eckhart is really good. Everyone brings their A games. It's taken quite seriously, though the material doesn't really do them justice. And let's see if I can give you a bit of an explanation why. Oh yes, I should also mention, this movie has a bit of fallen in it. The Denzel Washington movie, I believe, is directed by Gregory Hoblit. And that revolved around a demon that went from body to body via touch. And that's the way the demon transfers itself in this movie. Though, as I was building up to, there's a scene at the end where Dr. Ember, Aaron Eckhart's character, has barely survived an encounter with the demon, and he touches this woman who was working with the Vatican. Now, the movie doesn't tell you if the demon was actually passed to her or if it were exorcised by Ember. But the thing of it is, the movie doesn't invest enough in her character for anyone to really care if she were. The problem with that is that the character, the acting was great, by the way. She did the best with what she had. Though the character wasn't developed enough to make it matter if she were possessed or not by this demon. If she were, so what? All we can tell about her is that she is a bit haughty and an agent of the Vatican. So she's not a non-character, but she's as close as you can get from being a non-character. So with the best drawn character being Dr. Ember, everyone else is just kind of there for the ride. And that's a pity, because Incarnate is really interesting, has interesting ideas, and it's very well acted. It's just too thinly written and too much of a mishmash of other, oftentimes better movies to really work. This is Brian with ScreeningFiles.com in review. Have you seen Incarnate? Do you agree, disagree? Let me know down below. And since you're here anyway, consider a like or a follow. Peace.